Friends, we in the church often speak of self-sacrifice as an ideal. We call upon ourselves and others who will listen to give up selfishness and to make sacrifices. What we sometimes don't realize is that sacrifice in itself is morally neutral. In and of itself, it is neither good nor bad. The moral quality of any sacrifice is determined by the cause for which it is made. Let me explain that. Say a suicide bomber blows himself up and a dozen other nightclub patrons. He gives up his life for a cause he believes in, namely hatred for a particular group. On the other hand, you have a man like Albert Schweitzer. At age 30, he turns his back on a successful and lucrative career as a concert pianist, earns a medical degree, and goes to a remote region of Africa where he opens a hospital paid for by himself and treats people's physical needs and also their spiritual needs. He gives up his life for a cause he believes in, namely love for a particular group of people. In today's gospel, Jesus talked to his disciples about sacrifice. He never minced words when he talked about to his followers about the necessity of sacrifice. Without hesitation, he would look them square in the face and challenge them to commit everything they had, even their very lives, to him. But his cause is not the only cause that involves sacrifice. However we choose to live, whatever our goals and purposes may be, something always has to be sacrificed for something else. Nothing we want in life is free. So if we choose one thing, we must give up another thing in order to possess it. Say, for instance, there's an individual, maybe a young person, who says, I'm not going to sacrifice. What I want is freedom. I want freedom to do what I want, when I want, with whomever I want, how I choose to do it. You can have that kind of freedom, but it will not be free. In order to have that kind of freedom, the person has to sacrifice some other things. For instance, such a person would sacrifice, obviously, his opportunity for an education, because in order to get an education, you need the discipline of studying when you would rather be doing something else. You would also have, such a person would also have to sacrifice the chance for a successful marriage and a happy home life, because family living involves thinking of others, putting their needs before your own. So you see what I'm saying? Self-sacrifice is not so much an ideal as it is kind of a law of life. Everyone lives sacrificially. Everybody makes sacrifices. And this, there is no choice. The only option we have is what we will sacrifice for what. And this is where the claims of Jesus come home to each of our hearts. Listen once more to his words to these early disciples. They will persecute you because of my name. All will hate you because of me. He was challenging them to make a positive use of the inevitable necessity to sacrifice themselves. Just like you and me, they had to live sacrificially for something. And Jesus was saying, let it be for me and for those things that I represent. In the New Testament, there's only one statement, as far as I know, that Jesus is reported having said 5 times, and it is this: whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Many of us have a hard time believing that, but those who have tried it are convinced of its accuracy. And losing one's life for Christ does not usually mean martyrdom, and it does not usually mean something that for most of us we would say is a religious thing. It simply means giving oneself to the best of one's ability to furthering the plans and the purposes of Jesus Christ on this earth. Mothers have done it in the home. Teachers have done it in the classroom. Farmers have done it in the field. Workers have done it on the job. Some time ago, Professor George Palmer of Harvard said this, looking back on his life as a professor of philosophy. This university pays me to do what I would gladly pay to be allowed to do if I could afford it. He had found his life by losing it in his work. Many different people in many different ways have discovered the truth of what Jesus said over and over again. Whoever loses his life for my sake shall find it. So, making sacrifices is not so much an ideal as it is an inescapable fact. In search of an ideal, we will sacrifice ourselves for something that is inevitable. Why not the best? The serving of others in the cause of Christ. Amen.